Larry's point, it's going to take longer than the market seemed to expect last week, and that concern is still from. So.
Yeah, maybe we need to discount some of it at some point. Larry, wonderful to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us. It's Raymond James Chief Investment Officer Larry Adam. Let's get a check on your equity market now, about 10 minutes into your trading day, and we are marginally lower, about 0.25%. That's decisively to the downside at 341. Stocks declining just over 161 up. Broadcom, the big shiny story of the day, strong earnings, $100 billion in sales of chips in the next year. Amazon, Microsoft, those big heavy hitters doing well. Berkshire Hathaway also having a pretty positive day. CrowdStrike just over here. They were falling because they got an underperform rating from Bernstein and a new addition to their coverage. Though those shares rise. To the downside, Nvidia is down almost 1%, which is never a great thing for this market. Is it because yields are up? Is it because Broadcom?
Is back. Take a look under the hood of the business of Formula One. Hi, I'm here to see Pierre Gasly.
Welcome to my workplace.
You feel pressure.
Classic pressure. Is the business simple, but you can be very proud of the past and look after the future.
From the iconic brand setting the standard, oh boy. Can you imagine Ferrari without racing?
No, and they say no.
For the newcomers forging ahead.
I grew my whole life racing against the boys.
This global phenomenon continues to chart new territory.
This was a fast car 10 years ago. I can't even believe that.
And the speed of the business has never moved faster.
Actually, I stopped. I still be driving something.
Probably very fast. This season, we're along for the ride.
I'm Lisa McKay, and I'm Christina Raffini. We're tracking breaking news today from Wall Street to Washington. Let's start with Steve. The sector is really compelling so far.
I hope this will open up new markets and provide some additional liquidity.
Of course, now they're talking about a big week coming up in politics.
Earnings season's underway. We're going to get some key reports.
Everything you need to know before the markets open on Monday.
Introducing Bloomberg this weekend, bringing a little Bloomberg into your weekend routine. Get your fixed income fix. Watch Bloomberg Real Yield around the world right here on Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
Astonishing day for U.S. technology.
It's shaping the region's technology ecosystem.
Asia's biggest tech news and innovation. Africa, a region rife with potential for growth and opportunities, but not without its challenges. Bloomberg highlights the biggest stories, interviewing key players, and reporting on issues impacting the region. Join us as we get to the heart of African business, politics, and economics, and ask the question, what's next? I'm Jennifer Zaldiz, and this is Next Time. New episodes every month, only on Bloomberg.
Okay, let's go over this setup here. We were down pre-open, and these big bulls came in here. It looked like there were some trap sellers here. A lot of absorption by the buyers. Take this back up. This bull and this bull failed to displace back up to value here. Actually, we're gonna be break even here. Might get taken out. See if we can hold this position. But yeah, we broke even. But these bulls failed to displace because the strength of the bears were protected. Bears protected here. And that was for sure. I should have shorted at this swing here. Would have been a nice pivot point off of this. This level here would have been a good swing. But these bears failed. There's no strength here in these bears, so let's see if we get a wick or some sort to come back down, or could rotate. Let's go find liquidations. Looking for liquidations here.
From the data you've seen so far, does it seem to be trending in one or two of those directions?
Yeah, it seems to be. We're going to move our fixed range profile to a new session.
And so the signals are really mixed. It's hard to say. All eyes are going to be on the U.S. jobs report that comes out next week.
What's the story with hiring? Because regardless of what happens with job cuts, if we get the most since the financial crisis in January and it pulls back to a calmer rate in February, it doesn't seem like companies are hiring too much.
Yeah, I mean, we did see some good jobs added in the month of January as far as we could track in the
NASDAQ is up.
However, we've seen the number of hiring announcements really fall flat. Companies aren't making projections right now about future hiring, which is a signal that they are also very uncertain about what's going to happen.
Is that uncertainty around AI, the economy? What seems to be the source of that hesitation?
Yeah, it's coming.
Gold looks to try to rotate back here, but
talk about their future forecasts coming down. But we're also starting to see a lot of companies start to discuss artificial intelligence as a real driver for layoffs. It's something that is much more skeptical about last year, but in the last 3 to 4 months, we're starting to see companies specifically talk about it, and companies outside of just the tech sector, which is a signal to me that this might be moving a little further than we thought.
It's so interesting to me because the demographics, older people should be aging out of the workforce, and there should be fewer younger people to take their position, especially since we've closed the borders and there's no more immigration. The labor pool must be shrinking drastically. How is it that in a growing economy, companies are able to not to get into bidding wars for talent?
Well, we're in a different place than we were 2 or 3 years ago when we were in the greatest labor shortage that the modern American economy had ever seen. And we saw the Great Resignation, and companies were fighting tooth and nail for employees. And so that really cooled down since then. Doesn't mean we've gone into a recession. We are, in a lot of ways, this is in line with what the Fed wanted. They wanted to cool down the overall economy and the labor market in combination with that. And so we're kind of at that point where everybody's just wondering, Have we hit the even point, or are we going to go further?
Is it troubling though when you see Block, for example, announce they're going to let go 40% of their employees? They say it's AI, we can leave that debate to the side, but the shares rally. I just wonder if there is such an incentive for companies right now to not only cut employees, but say it's due to technological changes.
Well, look, companies have invested a lot of money into bringing artificial intelligence into their organization with the express goal of creating operational efficiencies, of creating job cuts, and being more efficient. So there's a ton of pressure on CEOs, on leaders of these organizations to show the market that those investments have paid off, whether they're really happy or not. So a little opaque, but the more and more evidence that we see, the more companies saying they're expressly cutting jobs because of artificial intelligence, the more likely it seems.
Looks like gold just got back to value area, and we can easily come back down now. We can try again here.
You must have had a ton of people calling you for your jobs data. How has that changed the way the market works with labor data?
Yeah, everybody was searching for alternatives. We have one point of data. It's not this whole overall overarching number that encapsulates the labor market, but it's one important piece of what's going on. Everybody was searching for bits and pieces of information to pull together a coherent story of what was happening at a time when the whole world's eye was on the U.S. labor markets, and we weren't getting those central numbers.
Well, Andrew, thank you for bringing some of your data and being with you today. We appreciate your time. That's Challenger Gray and Christmas Chief Revenue Officer Andrew Challenger. Coming up, Kroger, which is the largest U.S. supermarket operator, offers a cautious sales forecast. A new CEO taking the reins amid competition. We're going to cover that with Red John coming up next after this break on the podcast.
We're probably gonna get taken out here. Thought we found value. I get a premium for this, but we did not get the best entry. I need to see this bear displace this bull here. Otherwise, early exit. Let's see how this bear is. Try to get a re-entry somewhere. Yeah. I need another bear candle to displace this bull here. We need aggressive sellers to come back in and take this market. Otherwise, we're just going to range.
I'm Melissa Tay. And I'm Christina Rafiti. We're tracking breaking news today from Wall Street to Washington. Let's start with Steve Becker. It's really compelling and feel full.
Yeah, the hope is this will open up new markets and provide some additional liquidity.
Of course, now we're going to have the better. We got a big week coming up in politics.
Season's underway. We're going to get
There's a nice wick there, nice rejection, but we need an engulfing bear. We need a strong bear to the downside. Conviction. Is it ready?
This is Bloomberg Open Interest. I'm Matt Miller. Quick check on what's going on.
No, bear's getting rejected again.
We are just about 20 minutes in the second. The S&P 500 is still down, but only 0.3%, 1650, and the Nasdaq is turning positive at just over 25,000, bouncing back and forth. The small caps are still getting hit because they're so rate sensitive, and with these inflation concerns, the rising price of oil, there's less chance that the Fed will cut rates. So you see the Russell 2000 down, Dow Jones Industrial Average. Obviously, those are not small caps, but also losing some ground here as the old economy takes a break. NVIDIA is down 0.5%, so that is helpful if you're long stocks. Broadcom, on the other other hand, trying to make up for some of that, 3.8% with $100 billion chip sales forecast. I think that's for the next few years. Trade desk actually gaining right now almost 24%. And this is a phenomenal story. OpenAI is going to use trade desk software to lean into the advertising that's got so much flack for on social media. StubHub down more than 12% right now. Costco off 1.5%, and then Kroger. We're going to focus in on these here, gaining as the largest supermarket in the U.S. Danny?
That is a turnaround for those shares. They were down when they immediately released earnings because they issued a cautious sales forecast. CEO Greg Foran has been taking over, and they are facing more competition. Consumer reporter Brett Brown joins us now. Brett, what was your overall read on the earnings? Because the market is flipping, it's changing its mind, whatever. Initially saying that this is a negative, you're cautious, and now shares are rallying.
Yeah, I think maybe given the context of everything going on with Kroger, like cautious is a positive move for them, right? The new CEO taking over less than a month ago. They almost had failed deal with Albertson last year, but it seems like maybe some of the strategic initiatives that they're laying out here, focusing on value, reinvigorating their digital sales. Maybe there's some positives to take away from that, and there might be a sense that there could be some more upside to that kind of cautious outlook.
Isn't this a good play on inflation? I mean, if prices rise, consumers don't have anywhere else to go but Kroger. You know, they're not going to go to the Dollar Tree to get groceries. So, and maybe they step down from a Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's why we're seeing Kroger want to really emphasize the fact that they do give value. They've reintroduced paper coupons. They're a bit of a throwback there. They're really upping their private label, so also giving people within the stores if they need to trade down. If you're already a Kroger customer, you don't need to go anywhere else, right? You have our private label that'll give you an opportunity to save as well. So yes, I think it might be a good.
All right, we're gonna get out for the loss. Take the loss there. Get out.
They are wanting to do something with their digital business. Late last year, they closed down some of those fulfillment centers. They're going to want to deepen their partnerships with Instacart and the sort of third-party platforms. So there could be something there that we see in the year ahead. But yeah, a bit too early to say.
Oh no!
It doesn't need direct-to-consumer social media like McDonald's.
It's a bit of a slippery slope.
Yeah, Big Arch. It's not your job as a reporter.
Don't tell me it's coming down now. It looks bullish. You know, we're still below 50 level. We're still below 50%.
On the slow repricing of interest rate cuts, and we'll talk about Iran's impact on the economy.
We're still below value here. We're still below value. Just don't see how.
Isso eu começo a ter grupo. Não sabia o que fazer. Essa grupo é passarinho. Tempo para que o Brasil se torne no futuro próximo marca estado no final do dinheiro.
Here come the bulls to rotate this back up.
I picture the stomachs and some of the world's most desperate people who are getting richer.
I am a winner. I didn't know how big it was. I didn't really understand what I was getting myself into.
If you tell me you have a vision of being $1 billion business, then you're going to have to do what it takes. And if you're not going that, everybody's going to suffer.
When you control it, but you can really transform people's lives. But you can also hurt them.
Want the biggest names in business choose Bloomberg Television?
That's a great question.
Very good question.
Interesting question. Good question. Great question. I so appreciate that question. You said I asked interesting questions.
Bloomberg Television, top experts with questions.
Bringing you up-to-the-minute geopolitical news whenever and wherever it happens. I'm Stephen Engel at Japan's Akasaka Palace in Tokyo, and this is Bloomberg.
It's CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by JTV.com.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. Day 6 of war in Israel issues a mass evacuation warning for all of Beirut's southern suburbs. Fighting is escalating with Iran-allied Hezbollah militants as the U.S. and Israel batter Iran with nationwide strikes targeting leadership and the nation's nuclear program. Correspondent Charlie Daggett is in Tel Aviv.
Another noisy morning as Iran has continued to try to target Israel. Israel's defense have been able to check the incoming missiles. The Iranian military actually showed a video, they say, were missiles that were targeting the airport here.
Today, Iran warned the U.S. would bitterly regret torpedoing an Iranian warship off Sri Lanka. Many Americans say they're still trapped in the Middle East. CBS's Imtiaz Tayeb spoke with Oliver Sims at the airport in Doha.
Have you been in touch with the State Department? I have, yes, but it's just kind of all over the place. Are you angry at anyone? I'm not angry. I am definitely just disappointed in the way that U.S. citizens here are being taken care of or lack of.
The UN's International Maritime Organization says about 15,000 cruise ship passengers are stuck in the Gulf region. The nation's largest ICE detention center may be closing its doors.
ICE plans to close the more than $1 billion immigration detention center at the Army Sports List near El Paso, Texas, according to the Washington Post. Robert Held is a lawyer who has represented clients at the facility.
My enthusiasm is tempered by the fact that we don't have a closing date. I think
Just fill the gap. It's targeting yesterday's gap, but could rotate back down after that. See here.
Taking on Dunkin' and Starbucks over their sweet caffeinated drinks, questioning why it's okay for a teenage girl to drink an iced coffee with 115 grams of sugar. Medical contributor Dr. Celine Downer.
This isn't about any one brand. Ultra-processed foods and beverages are bad for you regardless of who sells them. Sugar-sweetened beverages in particular are a leading source of added sugar.
Lots of kids turning to AI for friendship. Researchers say that's not always a bad thing. CBS's Michael George.
72% of American children have used AI as a companion. Researchers from Children's Hospital of Philadelphia say there are both risks and benefits from kids using AI. They found AI storytelling can support language development and vocabulary. However, children have a tough time identifying misinformation shared by AI.
This is CBS News.
That would have been a good short here at value.
A study from the University of Cambridge
Missed that.
confirms
There's a
people who
premium.
start taking medications like Zepbound
Premium cell right here.
regain 60%
Could have
of
re-entered,
the
but
weight they lose in a year. Researchers also find if they continue to take the drugs
looks like
intermittently every couple of weeks or so, they
you
can
go to a
maintain
seeking
weight
value.
loss. And it's not just the weight. I'm Vicky Barker in London, where a major study published in the British Medical Journal suggests the same GLP-1
Seeking the
drugs
gap
used
fill.
to fight obesity also lower cravings in people dependent on alcohol, cannabis, and opioids. And they also protect non-addicts from falling into any form of substance abuse. Study leaders yet on the
GLP-1s are suppressing food noise and then also suppressing the drug noise.
He says cravings for drugs or alcohol seem to follow the same brain pathways as cravings for food, suggesting the same treatment works for both. Shoppers are returning to Victoria's Secret. The company's holiday quarter sale bested expectations. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS.
This is Bloomberg Intelligence with Scarlett Fu and Paul Sweeney.
How do you think the Fed is looking at tariffs, the uncertainty of tariffs?
Let's take a look at the sectors and how they performed.
Yeah, to pivot for an
Breaking market headlines.
entry, then the short here.
Could we see a market disruption, a market event?
People just too exuberant.
Do you see some so-called low-quality stocks driving this short-term rally?
Bloomberg Intelligence with Scarlett Fu and Paul Sweeney on Bloomberg Radio, originals and the
I think it might just leave now. Yeah, looks like it's leaving.
Streaming live on YouTube. We're also streaming live on Bloomberg.com. So you can catch us there as well. Scarlett Fu out again today. I believe she'll go back Monday. Isabel once again sitting in for Scarlett Fu, which is a good thing. We got a lot going on here today. The markets selling off, although we are off the lows of the day. Coming up, we're going to be checking with Dan Williams, reporter for Bloomberg News. Just get the latest reporting coming out of the Middle East. Nancy Tangler, CEO and CIO of Laffer Tangler Investments. We get her market call on what's going on out there. She follows it from a tech perspective. She has a bent there as well. Benedict Camel, Bloomberg Global Aviation Editor, give us an update on flying in and around the Middle East and how those delays are stacking up there. Herman Chansky also going to join us. We're going to talk about banks. Morgan Stanley cutting 3% of the workforce. I think that's kind of going to be just their annual kind of culling, if you will, bonuses that they've paid. And now they let some of the performers go and bring on some deals. That's how it usually plays out on Wall Street. But right now, let's go to Alexis Christopherson and get a Bloomberg. This is Flash, Alexis.
Thanks, Paul. Another volatile day on Wall Street. Stocks turning mixed here. Oil, though, continuing to surge as traders follow developments in the war with Iran. The S&P 500 down 14 points. Dow Jones Industrial Average sliding 412 points, but we've got the NASDAQ in the green by 17 points. Oil prices on the move again. We've got Brent crude now pushing up against $84 a barrel, a gain of 3%. WTI crude rallying 4.5% to now 78.02 the barrel. The Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index stronger at 1202.66, and Bitcoin down 1.5% at 72,230. Stocks on the move today include Broadcom. It expects its AI chip sales to top $100 billion next year. It also forecasts quarterly revenue.
No more entry on the shorting here, the short for gold.
Share buyback as well. Shares of Broadcom up
We
5%.
just
Cracker Barrel is rallying.
could swing that to
just about 0.3% now, so well off its highs of the morning after serving up better than expected revenue for last quarter. A sign of
the only real entry would be at this level.
From that logo debacle last year. And Victoria's Secret topped earnings
Only
and
entry to
sales
get.
expectations and issued full year guidance ahead of Wall Street projections, but still
Just
not
about
enough for
that.
investors. Shares of Victoria's Secret now down 12%. That's your Bloomberg Business Flash. Paul and Isabel.
Alexis, we should have the Victoria's Secret.
There's our only entry.
It was huge, and that thing hasn't been
But it's just leaving now.
It's still, I mean,
I think maybe it's too big, rent is too high, and
I guess lower the rent, get it filled, is what I would say. Alexis, thanks so much. We appreciate that. So we've got
Play on NASDAQ here.
Right across the street from what used to be the whole Victoria's Secret store. We're with that, and that was streaming live on YouTube. Isabel Lee and Paul Sweeney. This is the Bloomberg Intelligence Program. Stocks trading down as Alexis was just reporting. Let's take a look at some of the stocks on the move today. We can do that. We're joined by Bloomberg's Avalon Purnell. Avalon, what do you think?
Yeah, I would start off with StubHub, that's ticker STUB. It's tumbling about 12%.
And I'm gonna play it on NASDAQ here, and Q on a swing at the POC.
Also, fourth quarter results fell short of expectations. Analysts say that it was pretty difficult to make comparisons comparisons given there wasn't a Taylor Swift tour to boost sales this year. And it's also important to note that the company is facing regulatory risks kind of all around. As New York and California lawmakers are considering placing a cap on resale prices, and across the pond, the UK has decided to pass laws to ban the selling of tickets above face value.
What about StubHub? That's a similar kind of company.
Oh, well, with StubHub as well, they also got like 2 downgrades, but
All right, that's a trade secret.
yeah, Victoria's Secret, that's ticker VSCO. It fell about 12%, that's the most since April, after, despite the fact that it had earnings that topped, guidance that topped, basically ignoring that, there's just a free cash flow projection that fell short. And analysts are saying across the board that despite the fact that it was good, it just wasn't good enough. Guggenheim said there's a pretty large
Order
amount
at
of
a value.
ahead of report, and that can explain the market pressure that it's facing. I do want to point out though that management did mention that they are expecting some shipment delays given the conflict in Iran. Yesterday we heard some similar commentary from Abercrombie, so that's definitely a potential risk that we should keep an eye on for consumer stocks.
Broadcom, one more.
Yeah, Broadcom, ticker ABGO, that's up about 4% today. Still, the shares remain down about 20% from its December record high as investors continue.
Whether you're a
to
professional or just love getting hands-on.
Towards AI stocks. But that being said, it did report a first quarter results that beat expectations basically across the board, and everyone is very happy about the CEO saying that he expects AI chip sales to top $100 billion in 2027.
The numbers are just massive.
Yeah.
Companies, just extraordinary, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in sales. So amazing stuff. Thank you very much, Alan. We appreciate it, Alan, for giving us the latest there. For more conversations like this, subscribe to our Stock Movers reports. Listen in 4 or 5 minute auto review on the biggest winners and losers in the stock market. Subscribe to Stock Movers on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you listen. Time to get the latest news coming out of Iran and the Middle East. We do that today with Dan Williams. He's a reporter for Bloomberg News. He's based in Jerusalem. Iran, Dan, they says they are going to fight on here. They're going to escalate the war here. So it's got some people on edge here. What's the latest reporting coming out of Iran?
Good morning. I think escalation may be excessive, although indeed the Iranians are saying it. It's clear that they are massively outgunned. They were from the outset. The Americans and the Israelis both saying that this operation is ahead of plan, it's succeeding. They now have total dominance of Iranian skies and pushing inward, having really destroyed much of the air defense apparatus that was on western Iran. So that obviously is the biggest threat to Gulf Arab states, to US sites, and to Israel, given the geography. When the Iranians say they're escalating, it would appear they're leaning more heavily on their more plentiful supplies of drones. Those are slow flying, they can't really penetrate targeted targets, but when fired at civilian areas, and that's certainly something that's been experienced in the Gulf in recent days, they can cause a great deal of damage and consternation. The missile threat appears to have diminished. That would correspond to what we've been hearing from US and Israeli planners about not just missiles being destroyed on the ground or having already been launched, but also the destruction of their launchers. Obviously, you can't launch a missile if you don't have a launcher, and those are in smaller supplies than the missiles themselves. A ratio of about 1 launcher for every 10 missiles, we're told. And I can tell you that in Israel, where I am, there is a sense now of a slow, gradual, cautious return to normalcy. The first Israeli airliners were about to land at Ben Gurion Airport, a partial reopening of the skies today to bring back stranded citizens.
Here we go. I'm going to try on
Sunday, they will resume
NASDAQ for a buy here.
Also, the Israelis
Let's see if we can get something out of NASDAQ. Back to value.
Go back to the workplace to assemble in top-heavy groups of up to 50 people as long as there's a bomb shelter. So Israel, which is a good 1,000 miles away from Iran, so naturally less vulnerable to those missiles, to those drones than Gulf Arab states or even US sites would be.
Let's try NASDAQ.
Has less of a fear of those Iranian drones. It's actually turning more and more attention to its neighbor Lebanon, where
Here we go.
an Iranian ally,
Get anything from NASDAQ here and this.
3 days ago in solidarity with Tehran.
So the U.S. said it has near total control of the airspace in Iran. Does this suggest that
So we
this
had-
could be a short
try it here.
Do you think escalation could still surprise?
Get anything.
I'm not sure.
Our last attempt for the day.
I think what's happening now is the Iranians are leaning on what's remaining of their arsenal. I think they're picking their playing for time. They're hoping for attrition, not military
So
attrition,
this one,
the same kind of damage as is being inflicted on them. I think they're looking for economic attrition.
we missed the short on gold. We missed some of these great buying opportunities here, but we got this little nice pivot at value.
Energy-rich countries in the Gulf.
The strength of the bulls broke the bears here from broke the bears from the London bears, and I'd like to see this come back up to value here, but looks like we might get taken out again. See if I can add on to this. I should add on to this.
Well, to be fair to the official statements coming out of Washington and Jerusalem, they're saying regime change is not a priority. By that they mean, I think,
well, let's see how these bears fare.
Regime by outside powers, in this case the Americans and the Israelis. However, both the allies are saying openly that were they to create a space within the Iranian power structure that could be filled by the opposition, a more peaceable opposition.
Let's add on here.
Welcome that. Right now, we're seeing cracks on the ground that would enable a mobilization of the opposition. I imagine the situation is simply too dangerous because of the sheer quantity
of things coming taken out.
However, there is some speculation or indication that there may be assistance being offered to Kurdish opposition within Iran, and there are also Kurds in neighboring countries as well, to come in with weapons and help topple the regime physically. I want to be careful about stating that because if it is happening, it's a nascent idea at best. Still, the Americans and Israelis are saying that they're willing to keep on bombing until the situation changes. They're willing to stick at this for days or weeks more. The question is how long the Iranian regime will last, not least as aforementioned, their arsenal appears to be waning.
And Trump has offered shifting explanations for this threat. What are your sources telling you on the ground as they try to read and maybe interpret what the president is doing?
I think the messaging has been fairly consistent, actually. Again, the president has his own style of messaging. There may be an element here of creating a smokescreen, creating confusion among the Iranian regime. I'm not quite sure. But when you actually confront the spokespeople and ask them, the initial stated primary aims of this are to eliminate the means of Iran to pose a threat to its neighbors, that being the ballistic missiles, the nuclear program, albeit much destroyed last year by another Israeli-US action back in June 2025.
Nasdaq's rotating back down.
The Iranian Navy and its ability to control the Strait of Hormuz or to close it down, something that's related to energy.
So that'll be it. Take some losses for today. We had a broke even and then 2 losses on gold and Nasdaq. See for tomorrow if we can get any let's see, news for tomorrow. 8:30 non-farm payrolls, heavy news tomorrow. Unemployment, so it's going to be big. 8:30 right before opening.